Hey gang, and for this, our halfway point on the Batman Cape Crusader, uh, we're getting another reimagining of an old villain. One that has caused some people to be a little upset. Uh, you remember Dr. Quinzel was introduced as a psychiatrist, which is how she usually, her origin begins. But she's Asian. Oh no. Oh, I've seen people online just throw a fit, especially because she doesn't have Arlene Sorkin's voice, which neither did Margot Robbie. Okay? Arlene Sorkin was a very, very specific style of talking and performance. And the original character was created with her in mind. Anyway, we open with Batman rescuing King Tut. Yes, the Victor Buono character from the old Batman show. But it's not going to be like that. And he's not the one that gets reworked. Although he does a little. Anyways, Batman saves him from trying to run in front of a truck. Turns out he is a very, very rich man who gave his entire fortune away to charity. Interesting. Meanwhile, Montoya and Barbara are meeting for lunch to discuss their concerns about Commissioner Gordon. He is working himself to death to try and keep Flass and Bullock from destroying the city in their search for Batman. And there's other crime happening, somebody's got to look after that. Anyway, they're joined by Dr. Quinzel, who, after Barbara leaves, she asks Montoya on a date. Another thing that upsets people, which I'm not sure why, because going by the Harley show and the animated show to a lesser extent, and I think even the comics, Harley was bi. She was with the Joker, and now she's with Poison Ivy. Not a big deal. Anyway, Batman goes to search the man's office. His name is Fletcher, and finds a bunch of check stubs, all made out to Dr. Quinzel. Obviously, he was a patient. About this time, Flass and Bullock try to capture him. Apparently, they figured he'd be looking into this because that's kind of what Batman does. And Batman practically humiliates them with taking them out and getting away. Meanwhile, let's see where we are. Check stubs. Meanwhile, we are introduced to Harley Quinn. And she has a lot of men in different cells. They're in different costumes and they're all being tortured in a specific way, such as you have a clown who's being tortured with a feather tickling him and other things like that. And basically getting them to give up all their money. Meanwhile, Barbara goes to meet Fleming at the asylum. She's going to be his lawyer. And he says he's King Tut. He doesn't know this Fleming guy you're talking about. But then when Barbara mentions Dr. Quinzel to him, saying she's going to, get a psychiatrist to examine him, guy flips out, knocks her aside. He's in a straitjacket, mind you. Gets out of his cell, runs to the roof, knocking several orderlies out of the way, and tries to jump off the roof, but Barbara stops him. So, she goes to see Dr. Quinzel, who says she's never heard of this man. So, Barbara goes and talks to her dad, being a little cryptic, and he gives her some advice. And so she goes to Quinzel's office, only to find Batman's been there first and searched it. But he took certain records, but using a pencil, that whole rubbing it across the paper thing. She learns the same information he did. Dennings was a patient. Okay, so she learns of another person who named Hastings, who is also a patient. So she goes to talk to him, and he tosses her out. Doesn't know this Quinzel. Doesn't know her. Don't want to deal with her. When she tries to break in, Batman stops her. He is going to go in. He tells her not to. It's for her own safety. Now, while they're arguing, Hastings calls Dr. Quinzel on her date. She has to excuse herself, even though they've been having a good time, patient. She probably understands. Montoya's a cop. She probably has the time. But she says, meet me at this other place in a few hours, and they'll pick up where they get off, and gives her the most romantic kiss I think you can do in an animated show that kids are going to watch. She arrives, and Hastings tells her about Barbara's visit. Well, she puts on the Harlequin outfit. Big shock there, huh? And goes down, only to find that Batman has broken in, and he has gotten there before her. So she releases all of the inmates and says if they take out Batman, they will have their treat without their punishment first. So Batman gets in a huge fight, ranges all over the room, before getting knocked into one of the cells, and Quinzel shuts the door on him, gasses him, and then hits a timer for 5 minutes. Going to blow up the whole house. And then she takes her patients and leaves. When she goes out there, though, she sees Barbara's car. So she sends the men on in a truck driven by one of her henchmen, I guess, and runs back in where she sees Barbara trying to get Batman out of the cell. Harleen tells Barbara they're old friends from college, that they have to leave. The place is going to blow up. Barbara insists she's not going to leave without Batman. Quinzel can't get the cell to open. Barbara shorted out the system trying to batter down the door. And then the explosion goes off, and Batman's cell is dropped into the he's on a cliffside, as all houses are, and he falls into the water. They try to run to get away, and the building is collapsing around them when the floor collapses. Barbara holds on and is holding on to Quinzel. Quinzel tells her to let her go. She's not worth it. Barbara won't, and they both fall. When suddenly, Batman slides into view on his rope and catches Barbara. Quinzel goes down into the water. Batman chastises Barbara for not listening to him. And Barbara chastises him back, that he is an unemotional robot who's just as bad as the criminals he brings in. He has no feelings or empathy for anyone. And this kind of hits Batman, and he gives her what comfort he can. Later, Montoya is still waiting when the phone in a phone booth rings. So she goes over to it. It's Harleen. She's been unexpectedly called out of town, but when she gets back, they'll get together then. Well, come on, you didn't expect Harley Quinn to just die that quickly and easily, did you? Of course not. Why would you? Another good episode. I'm liking the reworking of things. I like bringing in King Tut, but not making him the master criminal. Because, let's face it, who could ever top Victor Buono? No one. And I like the redesign of Harley Quinn. It's a more traditional Harley Quinn outfit. And it's a good disguise. And, it's a throwback to the original Harley Quinn, but this is before she got involved with the Joker and he kind of messed up her head. Although, judging from this, didn't have too far to go. Anyway, pretty exciting. The patients are a little because their psychoses are kind of odd. One boy's dressed as a baby, one's dressed as Little Lord Fauntleroy, one's a clown. I'm not even sure what some of the others are. That I didn't really care about, but Harley Quinn was top notch. Very menacing. Oh, next week's episode, since we've been doing crime and a little sci-fi and some, City Hall corruption, we're going to get into some supernatural hijinks. Because Batman, unlike a lot of characters, fits into all that. Please hit like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.